I'm gonna make this video about myself and basically who I am, or who I view myself as. See, for a long time, in fact, I would say in some way my entire life, I've been aware that I'm different. But most of the time, that difference only seemed to express itself as like wrongness or negativity. Even to this day, I have like a lot of questions about myself, like in terms of my character, my quality, my goodness primarily, because of my difference. I go back and forward, and I was born just to like a pretty regular family, I guess, in a lot of ways. Like pretty middle class suburbs, like nothing really too fancy, nothing too poor either. But yeah, but I have grown up knowing that the entire time that I've been different, that I have definitely been different, and most of the time I've hid it from everybody. I think there's like a term now, like with autistics, where they call it like masking, I think, where you basically, you put all your like energy and attention into creating like a facade, a mask basically, of like, you know, what you see other people looking like. You create kind of the aesthetics, you create the play of it, because you can't actually be like other people, or you don't get how other people are like how they are, and you want to fit in desperately, so you spend a long time just creating facades basically. And I know like that difference inside of me, it runs so deep. It runs into childhood, like deep into childhood, because I remember things in elementary school where I could feel like fear, guilt, just knowing that I was different, knowing that I was not the same as other people, and then having to like live with like this secret all the time, like that you're different, and the only thing it is, like this secret inside of you, the only thing that secret is like some wrongness, some like dirtiness, some evil or something like that, that you're always trying to cover up and hide, and just trying to fit in, and trying to make yourself look like other people, or trying to make yourself like seem maybe better than you are, to the point where the line just looks ridiculous. I mean, it was almost like a bad cartoon portrayal of what I thought I was seeing other people be like. And literally the only time that I ever came in touch with anyone who reminded me of me was this guy that I worked with. And he would do like some of the same things that I would do. Like he would raise his voice and try to be like really serious about about I don't know, like what task he was doing. And I recognized myself in him, and only later on did I find out that he was gay. And he wasn't even out about that. He wasn't out about being that at all. I had to find out from like his friend, who was like not like romantically intimate, but intimate like as a friend. Like they would talk about things and stuff like that. But I think he was kind of doing the same sort of thing. Like he was born different. I mean, this isn't a video saying that I'm gay or anything, not that I have like any problem with that, but like if it was that, at least I'd have something to like talk about, so like some community or something like this. From my perspective, the only difference with me was that I was evil. It was the only thing I could like define it as, like being in society, just being negative. Like all these negative traits and things would just start growing out of me like they wouldn't in other people. A lot of things just came out like that. And so I went into like a lot of like masking about that, and just tried to maintain essentially like a facade shell, while the inside of me was something like very, very different. I'm saying all this as like a long ways around to kind of get to the point where at a certain point the masking collapsed in on itself. When I got into a particular relationship back in 2006 with this girl who was like almost in every way my opposite. She was not masking, she was actually very, very good, and it interacted with that. And it started to bring up these issues I had always had about like hiding and lying and just trying to pretend like I'm like everybody else when I really am not. And it got to the point where the more I tried everything I could think of in earnest, like for the first time, because I felt like this was like a life confrontation being with her, like being intimate with someone who was the proof that you can actually, from my perspective, authentically be like as good as I was always just masking to be. I tried to do the same thing that I saw her doing. And the more I tried, the more everything fell apart. And I just realized, like at that point, like the problem was so deep, there was nothing I could do. But I kept trying, and I kept trying, and I kept hurting myself trying to like be something that I'm not. Until eventually it came to this point where this thought came, like it just appeared in my mind. It was like, if you're pushing so hard and you're doing everything you can, and you feel like you're trying to climb up a slippery slope in the middle of a torrential rainstorm, and it's not working, why not just let it go? Like just let it go. Just let it fall apart all around you. And it was at that point of like such intense frustration that I did let it go. And that is literally when everything shifted in terms of my consciousness. Like I found videos and things from people who are autistics, who don't appear to be autistic, but have found kind of like diagnosis for similar type things. I'm not saying that I'm like any different necessarily than them, but I don't think that this is really being called what it is. Because when I let go, when I physically actually let go, my consciousness opened. It became something that I had never heard of before. Like, I couldn't really make this up because it was like a physical experience, to the point where there were physical changes in my body when I stopped trying to be like what most people in society are accomplishing being. When I finally let go of that, it was like things opened, things changed. And this is when I experienced what people call a Kundalini awakening. And from my perspective, it is not like what a lot of other people refer to it as. For me, it balanced me. For the first time, I felt like I felt in love. I felt powerful, I felt confident and capable, where I'd always just faked it before. I felt like I understood why I couldn't actually be like other people the entire time, and why it was just like, it was an enormous injustice onto myself to try to be like other people, or to be judgmental or critical against myself for not actually being like what I was born to be, it seems. I had this idea after this about Neo in the Matrix, and I was thinking, you know, it would be like an incredible grounded way to like make Neo is to make his like gift like some kind of like problem, because the Matrix is all about illusion, right? So if he was the one, he has some part of himself, maybe it's even just like the smallest little bit, the smallest little part, that can't fall asleep. It can't go with the illusion. So he gets labeled and he gets projected on by like most of the people who are sleeping in the Matrix as being, you know, maybe mentally ill, or maybe mentally challenged, or something like that, or maybe he has ADHD or ADHD or ADD. Maybe he has like some regressive issue or something like that, and he can't just be like other people seem to be there. And as long as he believes that, he's asleep enough that he doesn't ever really know who he is. But something happens where he finally accepts himself for whatever reason, and then the opposite happens. I mean, like, I know I'm just describing my story there, but I thought it was like a brilliant idea. It's because like at a certain point, there will come a point in society where there will be three kinds of people, I think. And so there will be the people who are the majority, which is the people in the middle, the people who are not exactly asleep, not exactly awake. And then, because they're asleep and because it's a negative polarized system, you're aware of the second people, which are the negative people, or the crazy or insane people, or the people who are much, much worse than, you know, like the average is. But then there's a third group, the last group, the ones that you catch glimpses of in people like an Einstein or someone like that, like someone who's a savant or someone who's a prodigy or something like that. You catch glimpses of it. But there's the other side of it that I think will be too far beyond where the majority is to actually be recognized for what they are. They were born as the exception to the rule. They were born as I don't know, that third person, that person who's like abnormally bright, unusually caring, unusually intelligent. But because the average is what defines where the resources go and where like the people create their understanding for what life is, what a human being is, and how it should function, that middle group, because it's primarily in charge, can only identify anything above it, generally speaking, from its perspective. So if it is more negative than what's above it, it has to define that positivity as something that's an error to what it considers to be positivity. It's kind of a little bit all over the place, but yeah, like if you're at a certain level of maturity, for example, as like a young child, and you see someone behave a few years down the line from you in a way that's completely different than you understand how to behave, you might perceive that person as being wrong when in fact they're more grown up than you are, and you just can't perceive it yet because you haven't matured those levels of yourself. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a lot of people on what's called like the fringe level of things that are physically and genetically more integrity than the majority of people around them. That they are literally like a new species. And because of that, they will struggle with their lives, trying to be normal. And at a certain point, the only relief that they will find is coming in touch with information like this and discovering that the problem isn't what you were raised to think it is. The problem isn't that you're worse than other people. The problem is that you transcend them in physics. Like, even on your worst day, your physical behaviors and actions are slightly more together than theirs have at their best days evolved into being. And it's not, I mean, like, it almost sounds like self-aggrandizing or like childish, arrogance. But in this case, I know from my own experience, the most pain that I've ever felt is trying to fix something that isn't broken, and literally creating injuries inside myself trying to do it, to the point where I have had to face the fact that the exception to the rule is actually true in my circumstance, that it isn't me, it's them. It's like an exceptionally extraordinary real life, like, awakening to something that the majority can only misidentify as being impossible and unable to physically or otherwise exist in the world. And it literally is a real living reality, an extraordinary reality. And I think this is principally what I want to talk about on this channel, is this sort of notion about these things, the exception to the rule. The fact that, it's like, you will probably, if you're even watching this or drawn to hear this, or somehow ended up watching this video, you will probably come to a point, like I have, or probably already have, in many instances in your life, where, people have probably told you to your face in all sorts of ways. It's like, what do you think? Do you think it's all of us and not you? And yeah, but if you're anything like me, you would never say that. You would never even think it, because you are kind-hearted and you don't want to express yourself in any kind of like arrogant way. So you would maybe just assume, maybe even angrily, like, yeah, I'm a bad person or something like that. But no, it's the opposite. I think that's enough, like, for this video. But yeah, there's a turn, there's a change in a certain group of people who are in the matrix, so to speak, who are starting to wake up, because they're literally physically different and never knew it, and they're just not physically capable of being like other people are, and they're having to like restructure or transform, or even in certain cases build for the first time something that never existed, just so that they can have a more positive interpretation of who they are. And I'm among them, so welcome to the tribe, I guess. Thank you for watching this video. Summer, if you want to contribute like a story or like a comment or anything like that, please feel free to comment down below. Tell me what your experiences are, and if any of this resonates with you at all whatsoever, just let me know. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.